Was over Crypto Muscle come to you another YouTube video. Here we are in Ashland now. We're wise and get where it's at Crypto Muscle and the Crypto Muscle Network. Come to you another YouTube video. And so this episode of the Crypto Muscle Network that I'm doing here is going to be geared towards what I want to do in terms of my future broadcast. That I want to do at least once a week is bringing back the podcast series, the Musclecast, and I want to center it on the Oracle trading method, War on the 1 minute chart. But at the same time, I want to bring in some twists to it too. Like for example, for the Musclecast, that is. Uh, Something more I'm going to add along the lines of news, pop cultural stuff, and maybe inject a little bit of politics into it. Just because I just want to just talk about how I'm feeling, in general, and just to give you another side of me outside of crypto, besides pumping iron, right? And so that's what I want to do with this particular Musclecast episode. And so, with that, and also, I want it to become kind of a weekly occurrence. So, for example, if I'm not doing one of these, it might be because I'm going to have an interview instead, or something, to that extent, of that sort of substance, whether it's like an interview, a muscle cast, something like that, or even a live stream. So those are the kind of three I want to kind of intertwine with one another, and that's what I'm looking at with it in the future. So when it comes to interviews, right? For example, the first thing I want to do is, when it comes to like a kind of a interview of other YouTubers, for example, I'm not going to do any other YouTubers until I get the Oracle done first, because that's all in due respect. All right. As soon as I get the Oracle done first, and sort of like this sort of conversation, interview, just kind of catching up, shooting the shit, that type of thing, that will kick off, future sort of interviews. Because I think what I want to do is I want to reach across YouTube and all that, and try to just get in contact and in touch with other YouTubers, just to kind of have a little conversation and things like that in the near future. So that's the kind of thing I want to be looking at doing, and hopefully I can finally. I'm like 3 years behind, but I hope I could finally start interjecting live streams here and there to where it becomes a regular thing. But you know how it is. The first one's always going to be the hardest, right? In everything that we do in life, once you get it done that first time, it gets easier after that. So that's the plans for the upcoming future. And so, laying down the groundwork, I did get in touch with the legendary Oracle, and last that we quickly chatted about was when can we set up our conversation. And he did say that he had to go out, fly out, and that we'll reconvene once he gets back. So that was our last, kind of like our last chit chat conversation there. And so again, I'm not gonna, like apply any pressure or anything like that, and I'm not gonna set up anything for the future just yet with other peers in the space until I get the legendary Oracle done first, because he's kind of like the first of everything that I've done in crypto, in the life of crypto, that I have to give credit towards. And so, in all due respect, I would like him to be done first, published first. All right, for the new year. And so with that, what I want to do first is talk about War on the 1 minute chart, and then go on from there, and then get kind of pop cultural stuff, and like I said, inject a little politics And it might be leaning, but at the same time, I'm not. We'll get into that. All right. So, and then you'll see what I'm talking about, what my point of view is on things. So let's talk about this. All right. War in 1 minute. It's been crazy, right? In terms of just what's been going on in the market. I mean, look at Bitcoin right now. It's at 45. Shit. I think in the past week it's touched what, at least 48. I want to say at its high over the past week. Let me see here. We got to go. Back. Let's go over here. That's BNB. Let's go here. Let's look at what the Bitcoin high was for the week over the last 7 days. What's the highest it's been? Yeah, almost 48 in the last 7 days here. I mean, it was just teasing. It was at 47, right? 47. So not quite almost 48, but a little over 47. Actually, no, it reached as high as 47.8, almost 48. So yeah. All right. So it's crazy. All right. And a lot of things are happening in the space right now. A lot of teasing going on. So we'll get to that part in a minute here, because we got to talk about war in 1 minute. All right, so this is how it works with war in 1 minute. All right, what's great about it is that there's a lot of volatility in the market right now. So with that volatility, it's happening. It makes for great, leverage trading. So let's see. Let's look at the past. Look at all this. Woo. It makes some great trading. If you look at the recent trends here over the past, let's just say, let's see, at the time of this video, almost the last 12 hours. Is it 12 hours? No, shit. It's not even 12 hours here. Oh, here we go. We'll say in the last, last 12 hours. We'll say last 12 hours. Lots of stuff. Look at this one right here. Woo, man. Right here to this big ass dump off from the almost 48 all the way down to the recent bottom of 44-ish before it kind of went and recovered. Then another big ass dump off to low 44s. Man, crazy. So that's what makes great for leverage trading right now is, this volatility that's been happening this past week. So, we always refer to BitMEX because you can't use BitMEX anyways in the US, but it's always great to use this towards, just kind of gauging direction is what we're looking at here. You look at the 6 hour, you look at the 1 minute. The 1 minute. That way you can kind of just gauge direction in terms of what's been happening. I mean, look at it's all red in the past day. It's all red. But is that a way to look for direction? I don't know. We'll see, right? Let's take a look. Because it looks like recent trends have been, it's been going up and down. Seems like a lot more trades going up, though. And then we look at, let's see what this is going right now. You also got to look at what's going on in the news too, so lots of things are happening right now. I mean, the candles and wicks are looking really good here. And things that we don't like to look at, well, me in particular, is wicks out the ass, right? If you have one and then you have one coming out the ass, whew, that's not good. I'm anticipating a next red one, big, is what I'm anticipating on that 1 minute. Oh, there it is, see? Told you. So, that's what I'm talking about, right? When it comes to this sort of leverage trading, right? That's the only way. The only way I learn how to trade. This is the only way I trade, in particular. And so, that's the thing about War on the 1 minute chart is, uh, yeah, it's riskier, but at the same time, man, it can be very rewarding. And I think the best way to go about it is learning from the Oracle himself. Right. So this is the Oracle and all his channels of glory. A little bit of everything though, like if you're looking to pick up chicks, he picks up chicks definitely. So tips on that, unboxing. I haven't seen an unboxing in a while, but he unboxes stuff from time to time. Magic and myth, right? Interesting stuff, especially about NZT. If you don't know what that is, that's that limitless drug. I don't want to say drug, more like a limitless, let's say a supplement. There we go. I think supplement is the best way to look at it. There's a lot of similarities to that out there, and all I got to say is when it comes to that sort of thing, it's a powerful thing. All right, it opens up the mind. Crypto conspiracy, TA holes, funny stuff and about smashing on TA, and even the 5-year-old toddler smashes on TA as well. These two are kind of intertwined, but yeah, I don't care for TA myself. War on Wall Street. This is more towards stocks. So he does stocks. I'm not into stocks too much. Like really not. I find it a lot harder to get into. I think it's because there's a lot more steps to it, and it's definitely a lot more regulated in terms of what you can do, what you can't do, and all this other stuff. And I wanted to, just never got into stocks though. So that's just me, and I don't know. I'm just not going to do it. And then if there's any sort of platform opportunities, this would be it right here. He's very rarely in it, very, very picky, and has every right to do so. He'll make a splash once in a blue moon on platform, so you always want to look out for that. All right. And then you look at some of the other stuff, the news. He does news, and then the forte of what he does is all right here. Crypto trader, fast money trader, and that's leverage trading, War on the 1 minute chart. And so let's take a look at what's been going on here. Yep, been staying in the red, so it's been looking pretty good. So I called it on this one, and look at it, just keeps on going, and that's based on simple direction. I mean, it's been red over the last few hours, so that's how we gauged it. Bam. Better to trade down and up right now. But yeah, so how do you learn how to do this, right? That's the question. How do you learn? Well, the best way to learn how to do this, yeah, you can watch, but you don't get all the little things, the finer details, just by watching and learning, right? There's the finer details that is taught that you don't see in the videos, whether I'm talking about it, which I'm just really touching on, and even in the Oracle videos himself, he doesn't go into those finer details. He might skirt on it, but he doesn't go into those finer details because the only way you can really get those finer details is to go into consultation. Alright, so that's the one thing about the Oracle is that he does consultations. And the consultations is where you get those tidbits of the finer details that you're looking for in terms of learning how to trade on these charts and benefiting from it, right? Reaping the rewards. And just really, it's almost like you're riding on training wheels, right? And it's really up to you on when you want to take off the training wheels. And so this is interesting here. Which way is he gonna go? I don't like the wick out the ass. See that? So at first I probably would have yeah, see, I don't know. I don't like that. To me, this is really killing this, but what do I know? Let me see. Kind of just watching this for a minute, and then we'll get back into action here. Yeah, because this right here is not a good way to start. This sort of the wick out the ass type of thing. And to me, it just doesn't really do nothing for the next 1 minute here. To me, it'll fizzle that out. If it started out with, say, like, for example, like a this, and see, that's why when I saw this, I didn't panic, because let's say when I called for this, I stayed in it, right? And then I looked at this, and sometimes you could probably panic, right? You're like, oh shit, I should have got out. But then when you start seeing the wick come out of the ass, it's like it's going to really kill the momentum of the next one. And look what happened. It just killed it. So whatever you thought you might have lost is you're going to get back here, because I stayed in the trade. But yeah, so going back to the consultation. All right, this is where you get those finer details of learning this method of trading. So you get the consult, the full package, 0.10, and every now and then he might throw a bone out there, right? That's why you got to like really join in on his Telegram group, because those are the things that he might throw out there from time to time. Right? He'll throw out some news. He'll throw out just things in general on perception, what he thinks he's seeing, even entries into the Discord group, such as this right here. If you see that opportunity, you jump in. All right, so that's what we got going on. And me and the Oracle, though, we've been on this Mount Gox for a very, very long time. All right, I keep talking about it. He keeps talking about it. We've been on it for a very long time. And other than that, you don't hear nobody talking about it. All right, and this is what's important about it. All right, as we're going to cross over into a little bit of news in a moment, but again, this is what we're looking for. All right, you make sure you join in and get on this right here in Telegram. That way you can stay on top of anything you post, especially opportunities, entries, all that stuff. And he cut a deal on this right here already, all right? Because a complete package here for 0.10 Bitcoin. Because he had two packages going, and he decided, you know what, I'm just going to consolidate everything and shoot a deal. Boom. So take advantage of that, and every now and then you might throw a bigger bone. So this is where you go to find everything that you want, finer details. You'll see the link in my description anyways, whether it's the videos of his trading or the consultation package itself in terms of booking it and all that. That information is in my description. To me, this is the only way to trade. This is the best way to trade, and you'll find out everything, anything and everything, and all the finer details with this consultation. All right. Yeah, see, so stayed in the whole time. Again, I didn't panic when I saw the green. I just kept going and just stayed in it the whole time. Look at it. Now it's looking real good. But yeah, so that's what it's all about, all right? Now, as we shift towards, Mount Gox, since we touched on that, since he's on it, I've been on it. And the thing about Mount Gox is that's going to be the Achilles heel right now of the market to me. And why is it the Achilles heel of this whole market? All right, as we go and venture into recent news and events, right? The thing about Mount Gox is it's unsettling. All right, when it comes to this, it's unsettling because it's unfinished business in terms of what's been happening and development over the last arguably 10 years, right? That's what happened with Mount Gox was 10 years ago. And so my whole thing is that what happened with Mount Gox 10 years ago, they ended up taking people's money, Bitcoin, in this exchange, right? And the thing about it is that after all these years, people are lucky enough to get that money back. All right. So if people are lucky enough to get that money back, do you honestly think that people are going to say, "Oh, I got my Bitcoin back and I'm going to invest it all back in again"? No. People are going to cash out. I think in the grand scheme of things, people are going to cash out. I'd say majority, not all, is going to do that, obviously. But if you hold someone's money all these years, and if you're giving it back to them, to me, the first thing you would do psychologically is you're going to cash it out. You're going to take that money, and that's what's happening. Is that people want their money, and they're just going to and that's what's happening here. Is that every now and then, whether it's government controlled, whether it's institutional controlled, we're going to be seeing unsettling in the market because of Mt. Gox for the upcoming future for a very long time. Until the very last, I guess you say, I don't know if you want to call it payments, but payments to people of Mt. Gox to return to people. And then that will finally go away, right? But at the same time, another one that no one's really talking about is Silk Road. All right. Silk Road is kind of like Mt. Gox Part 2 or number 2. All right. They're coming. They're in 1 and 2. All right. Silk Road was kind of the darknet, the way things were dealt with underground, black market, all that stuff back in the early days of crypto. And this was before Mt. Gox too, by the way. Well, and then the funds and stuff, mainly Bitcoin, were seized. Shit, I think maybe all Bitcoin. They were seized by, of course, who has it? The U.S. government. All right. So the U.S. government has Silk Road funds. All right. Many Bitcoin. So at the same time, as much as the government is going to hold, I think at the same time the government will sell at will at certain times, and it might trigger events in crypto that can be changing. I don't want to say life changing, but in terms of changing of direction and things like that. So those are the two things to me that is unsettling for the market that we really got to just pay attention to in the upcoming future, because of these things. It could be not a big deal, or it can be a big deal in the market. And so that's the scary part, and that's why I'm not really like full steam ahead for a bull run or anything like that, because just it's too unsettling right now, and then on top of that, we're still in this so-called recession. Like you hear people say it, people don't. We have all this marketing, factors that are bad, inflation, all that stuff. I think eventually it's going to catch up, and it's going to be bad. All right, and so it's just unsettling times right now. That's why I'm not fully convinced with the whole bull run right now in this market. So that's my thoughts on what's been happening here, and in connection to all this, all right. We got to really watch what's been happening here, because yesterday there was an announcement that spot ETFs has all been approved now, and it's full steam ahead. It's a go. But and that was posted on X or Twitter, right? And then what happened was it was fake news because the X or Twitter account got hacked. And so there wasn't any announcement yet. So what happens? It kind of really just caused some disruption in the market. So you hear all these different things that's going on in news right now about how the SEC is investigating it now, this whole so-called hack and all this stuff, and that's what's been happening there. But in the short term, it triggered a lot of reaction, right? So Oracle really touched on it in that regard because besides people dumping from Mount Gox, um, people react. All right. For example, how Bitcoin dropped from 47 to 44 in a matter of minutes. Well, what is that? What happens there? Liquidation, right? A lot of liquidation. And let's see here. Bitcoin jumps, then dumps to 45 as fake news about spot Bitcoin approval liquidates $50 million. And so that's what's happening there. All right. So crazy stuff when it comes to what's happening in the market. You're going to see a lot of liquidations happening in the market because there's going to be a lot of things that will trigger it, and it's going to trigger dumps, and it's just crazy. And so you got to be on the lookout for that. All right. And so that's the biggest thing in the crypto news right now, is this sort of thing happening here. We got to really watch out for that because if you don't want to get wiped out in this thing. And I mean, to be honest, I don't know what to really look for when it comes to this ETF stuff. It's not going to bother me because I'm just going to sit there and just watch it anyways unfold if it does get approved or not. The marketing events that are happening, in general when it comes to like war out there and just whatever, it's just crazy. And so that's what I wanted to really touch on in terms of this. But at the same time, I'm going to shift things towards pop culture and a little bit of politics. I want to inject into it just because I just want to share my thoughts of what's been happening out there, right? And so, I had a discussion this morning in terms of the let me get onto this right here, the Golden Globe stuff, and I thought it was, there's been a lot of stuff in general about what happened and things like that about they had the Golden Globe Awards and things like that, and the host, to me it was, I thought, because what went viral was about the host, when it comes to this guy Joe Coy, and he talked about how he was flat and the jokes were bad and it was just bad, right, in general. But in hindsight, to me, I thought it was funny in the sense that because he was trying so hard to just really engage the audience because it was just going flat on the jokes, flat on just insults and things like that's what made it funny, and that's the kind of sense of humor I have, is that when you see things like that, and the people's reactions to it, that's what made it funny to me. So I don't know. I just thought I wanted to share that because my sense of humor to these things is I find other little things funny in general. When people are looking at it from the surface, I look into the inner meaning of things. So that's what I thought was funny. So I'll give another example. All right, there's an old movie, right, Lord of the Rings. All right, and so Lord of the Ring movies, they did a trilogy, right, and in the third movie, Rise of the King, whatever it was for Lord of the Rings, if you guys recall that. Let me go show you what I'm talking about, so you know what I'm talking about. I don't know what it's called. Lord of the Rings. We'll look at it. It's the third movie. All right. So the third movie. Whatever the third movie was called. All right. The third one, number 3. I think it was called Rise of the King or something like that, right? The Return of the King. All right, there we go. Return of the King. So, if you watch that movie, that movie was super long, 3.5 hours long, right? So long. It was like, it was all just partying and all that stuff because they destroyed the evil and all that. But let me point out the funny part to me, all right? And only certain people notice. And there's a scene, right, when they're doing this epic battle, right, where you have all the good guys, forming an alliance, and they go after all the evil, right? So they had, for example, all the trees, right? All the trees that rose up and joined in on the battle, right? These trees that were human-like, and so obviously, they're in battle, and while they're in battle, right? The evil people, try to torch them because obviously you burn trees, right? So they try to torch them. So, the trees were battling and things like that. And I remember I saw off to the side in the same movie, one of the trees ran off and he was on fire and ran off and touched and like cooled himself off in water. And I laughed so hard on that, right? And so when I laughed so hard on that, like people were looking at me like, "Am I crazy?" Because I was like, "That was funny." And so only there's only one person that recognized that besides me, and that was my close friend. By the way, one of my close friends, my best friend that I've known since elementary school, he actually, this is a coincidence too, right? He actually took what do you call it, a consultation on the back a couple years ago. He actually did a consultation on this, all right? And this is the funniest coincidence, all right? So Oracle one day invited me on one of his calls. He said, "Hey, why don't you come back and do a refresher, come back on one of my consultations as a refresher, and that way you could just kind of refresh on the skills and just kind of just join in on my call here." I said, "Sure. Anytime you throw out an invite and I can do it, I'll do it." And so the funny thing about it was this is so coincidental because I haven't talked to my friend in years, because we've gotten so busy and all that. I haven't talked to him in years. And the funniest coincidence is that, and I don't even think the Oracle knew that my friend was on the consultation call. And so when I saw his name on it, I was like, wow, he's actually in on this call, like I was actually very surprised. And we actually connected on the call, and I was like, wow, this is very surprising. So I actually reconnected with my friend after all these years because of the Oracle call here. And it was very interesting and very coincidental. And who would have thought, that could have happened, just stars align, whatever like that. But yeah, so going back to the whole Lord of the Rings thing, right? He was the only other person during that time, during Lord of the Rings, that saw that detail and laughed himself, because when we talked about the movie after, hey, did you watch the movie? Yeah, we watched the movie. And, we were talking about some aspects of the movie like you always do, right? You talk about what points of the movie you liked. And then we talked about the very funny part of the movie that we thought was so funny, which was when the tree ran off and doused his head full of water to get the fire out. And no one would really look at those kind of things like that and laugh, right? And that's the thing about my humor, is that I always find the funniest things in general, and I don't know, just the funniest little things would make me laugh. And that's what I thought was funny about the Golden Globe Awards, was about Joe Coy and all that. Is like, 'cause I didn't know nothing about that Joe Coy dude. I had no idea who he was. But I kept on seeing all these headlines about how bad it was and all this other stuff. So I'm just trying to see, all right, what's the big deal about this thing? Because I don't watch those award shows. I don't care for them. But I had to watch it just to see so I watched the highlights of his, quote unquote monologue, right? And I could see why the audience was kind of flat on it. Nobody thought the jokes were funny and whatever, and the reactions and things like that. And to me, that's what made it funny. When it comes to that whole, you know, Joe Coy monologue and stuff like that. So I don't know. That's just me though. Um, you know, so I mean, I could watch it again and just laugh because I thought it was just funny how hard he was really trying, and you could tell he was sweating bullets. So that's what I wanted to bring. Just touch on that because I just had a conversation about that, and I thought it was just funny to me in retrospect. So, what are your thoughts on that? Let me know. And so now, something I've been wanting to really go into for a very, 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 very long time. All right, is kind of just talk about a little bit of injection of politics, and the thing about it is I'm not affiliated with nothing. All right, I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I'm not liberal. I'm not progressive. I'm not uh, conservative. I don't know what I call myself. I don't really call myself anything. Just more like a person of just common sense, and I mean, there's going to be pieces of one side I like, and there's going to be pieces of the other side I like, and I always feel more towards what makes sense, And to me, I think a lot of, in a sense, conservative stuff makes sense, right? Um, and it's obvious because, like, when you see what's been going on in America, it's just been bad, all right. And being in California, it's even worse, all right. And so, you have a terrible governor, all right, and the governor Gavin Newsom's bad, all right, when it comes to just things in general in California, all right. And to me, it's painting just a picture of what else has been happening across America in general. And so when we look at all that stuff, um, it's just been terribly bad. All right, and I'm not definitely not a Democrat. And it's funny because I have discussions of this with uh, coworkers and things like that, and we have a lot in common. And that the funny thing was, you grow up, right? Especially if you grow up in California, it's a lot of liberal, progressive sort of ways, right? In California, um, liberal, progressive, democratic ways, right? So like heavy leaning left in California. So you don't know any better, right? When you're young, you're impressionable, right? You go to college, and it just kind of just hammers on that, right? Because of all that stuff, the ideologies of it, you are kind of just going in that direction just because your environment is in that direction. So it kind of just leans you into that direction because you don't know any better, right? You're young, and when you are kind of just going in that direction, you don't know any better because you're just kind of just painted a picture of, oh, because conservatives are bad and they're racist, and they don't care about minorities and things like that. That's the biggest thing that they always put out there. I remember when I was in college, that was the biggest thing is that, oh, if you are Republican and you believe in all that stuff, and they're racist, because they don't believe in minorities and the policies of minorities and all that, and everything about them is racist, and so that's what you're kind of just reinforced, right? But as time goes on, right, you grow up, right, you live life, you get a job, you have a career, and you pay taxes and things like that. It starts to open up your mind a little bit, like, oh, wait a second here. Like, I'm doing this, this, and this is what's happening, and wait a second. Wait a second, this is not right. And you start to open yourself up, right? You start to read a little bit more about things, and then you realize that, holy shit, the democratic, liberal, progressive thoughts, policies, and all that, and on the surface, it looks like it's good for the minorities, it's good for whatever, but it's actually bad. It's so bad that on the surface it looks good, but it's bad for everybody else. You know, it's so bad for everybody. So, for example, like when we look at what's been going on in California over the last few years, right? When it comes to these things, a lot of hypocritical things have been happening, right? For example, they say, hey, got to wear a mask, but yeah, there's a lot of people that don't wear masks, but they really force you to wear it, or they really pressure you to take the COVID vaccine and things like that. Man, because the restrictions at the time were so tight, and that there's only so much you can do if you don't do it, right? So they're almost like really pressuring you so hard to do it. And all I gotta say at that time was I held out, all right, because I didn't believe in that crap from the get-go, and so that's what happened. All right, so let's go back, all right, in time, because this was a catalyst for where I'm at today in crypto, and that's 2020. All right, because 2020 was kind of the catalyst of everything. So COVID started, the gym shut down, it catapulted me in crypto, and the rest is history, right? So, when we look at what happened at that time, because of COVID, things shut down, right? Stores, gyms, all that stuff. So it really kickstarted me into crypto even further because I had nothing else to do. So I had to just really, I got really immersed in crypto. And so, because I've been in crypto for a few years, but it was really minimal at best until COVID hit. And then because I had no other things to do for time, I just said, I'm just going to just dive into crypto more, and bam, here I am today, booming, all right? And so when we look at what we had going on during that time too, everything was shut down, and then you start looking at restrictions, right? They really, you got to wear a mask, you can't, the 6 feet thing, and hand sanitizer stuff, and all kinds of crap, right? And really the one thing that they really, 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 really pushed hard for was that whole COVID vaccine stuff, and I was just like, they rushed this shit to production. They really pushing and pressuring people to do all this. And I'm like, nah, I'm not doing it. I don't care how safe they make it sound like it is. I don't care what it is that, you got to do this because, you can't come in if you don't have it. You can't come in if you don't have the card. Screw that shit. Then I'm not coming in. I'm not going to go nowhere then, And so that's what I really did. I only went to work and went home, and because I didn't do the whole vaccine thing, I remember as time went on, you were really restricted on what you can do. You can't go into restaurants, for example, as they started opening up restaurants again. They said, you can't eat at a restaurant because you don't have a COVID vaccine or a card to prove it. All right, fine. I'm not going to eat at the restaurant. And so, here's another one too. You can't travel because you don't have a COVID vaccine or a card, so you can't travel. All right, then I'm not traveling, So that's what happened. Didn't travel and didn't eat at restaurants because of this whole thing. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. It's not going to stop me from living my own life and not taking that stupid vaccine, right? And so literally, everybody in my family took the vaccine except for me, and I was like an alien or an outcast, like, oh, you're not taking the vaccine, oh man, that's so bad. All right, then I'm bad, I don't give a shit. I looked at my workplace, right? Probably about half the people in my workplace took the vaccine, the other half didn't, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm not taking that shit. All right. And so some people, were so anti-vax on that in terms of COVID, that is, that they ended up quitting because they felt pressured about it, or there were some certain things about it that they just said, forget it, I quit then, because they felt pressured and stuff. I didn't feel that kind of pressure from my workplace, but I felt more of that pressure socially than anything. And so I was just like, screw that shit, I don't care. And I held my ground the whole time. As time went on, they try to make you do things that was so inconvenient, right? For example, at my workplace, oh, you don't have a vaccine, you got to do 2 tests a week. 2 tests a week, right? Whereas if you had the vaccine, you either had just 1 test a week or none, right? Oh, but you have no vaccine, you got to do 2 times a week testing, all right? Okay, fine, I'll do 2 times a week, all right? So that's what I did. I did 2 times a week testing until they stopped the whole testing, thing that they did. And there was one time I did it once for that week, right? And guess what? Got written up for it, right? Which is stupid, but I got written up for it because I only did 1 test during that week because I only showed up maybe 3 days that week. And so I didn't think I needed to do another test because it's supposed to be every 3 days or whatever, right? It's like I just know that particular week, it didn't feel like I was justified to take another test, but because they said, oh, you didn't take the second test that week, you gotta here's a write up for it, right? I'm like, yeah, you kidding me, right? Like, you could really like go after people for progressive discipline on things in general, for performance stuff, but you're gonna go after me because I didn't take 1 test short for that week. It's like, come on, man, really? So, it's bullshit like that. And to this day, still have not taken that vaccine. And then, well, look what happens now. Like, a lot of people either say, like, I shouldn't have done that. Or, oh, yeah, I know, it's just what happened back then. I mean, we just did it. We had to do it. And it's like, no, you didn't. You didn't have to do it. And now people think, like, looking back, it's like, ah, man, that's just stupid for doing that. I was like, duh. I mean, like, I just laugh, these days because I held my ground on it, and it looked so bad back then that I didn't take the vaccine and things like that, and I was like, I don't give a shit, I don't give a shit how it made me look. I mean, it made me look bad, right? It made me socially look bad. It made me look everything bad, and I was just like, I don't give a shit. And so, I don't know. Just thinking about that is just funny to me. And so supposedly COVID is supposed to be making a big comeback this year, right? They keep saying that every year, right? But this year, oh man, it's supposed to be worse this year. And I don't know. I think it's just so overrated. Like when I first looked at it, I was like, okay, it's a glorified version of the flu because when you look at it, if you look at the inner meaning of what a COVID was, it was a flu virus. Okay, yeah, it was a stronger flu virus because I experienced COVID, right? Not twice actually, and it's a strong. And the first time was the worst. I'll say that. Second time, which is like a normal flu to me. Um, First time, oh man, it got me good. Whew. January 2022. So 2 years. All right. 2 years after this whole pandemic thing happened was the very first time I, got COVID. And the funny thing was, one, it got me good. Two, man, it is a strong ass flu. I remember they give you 2 weeks off if you had COVID at work. They give you 2 weeks off flat. They said that that's just one of those things that they do. So in that regard, I thought it was cool that they gave you 2 weeks because you definitely need those 2 weeks. Because man, that first week it gets you good, and it just felt like it just wasn't going to go away, right? No matter how you take the medication and things like that to treat it, it was definitely a stronger flu, all right. But after that first week, that second week, in terms of just getting into that recovery mode and coming back, you bounce back and things are good. So it was good. It was good that they gave you 2 weeks off at the time. But again, it's a flu, but stronger flu, and it's arguable about, if it's deadlier than SARS, and SARS was like kind of like that early flu in the early 2000s. That was a big deal, and this was a big deal this time around. So there's always going to be flu strains and viruses that's going to be like the bigger deal, every so often, right? Right now it's COVID, all right? So whatever. Um, but yeah, so with all that, yeah, it's just funny how I just went into this COVID talk, but yeah, a lot of hypocritical stuff going on in terms of just in California and just across America, right? We all know what's going on with the whole migration type stuff, and I'm just going to touch on it. I'm not going to go too much into it because I'm going to be touching up on my 1 hour that I like to dedicate for podcasting. I'll be touching up on that. And my thoughts on all this is I don't know what's so hard about closing the border. I mean, just close the damn border. But, everybody's coming in. Everybody and their mom is coming in, all right? And if they're claiming asylum and things like that, well, it's not happening in terms of asylum because look at all the countries they're coming from. They're coming from China, India, Africa, all the different continents across the globe coming in through that border. And money's being made, right? Whether it's cartels, the governments down south, money's being made on our dime. And everybody and their mom is coming in right now. And no one's doing a damn thing about it. They keep arguing about it in government and Congress and whatever. And so they could just keep arguing, and the border's still open, right? And I don't know what's so hard. Just close the damn border. That's it. Just close it. But it's racism if you do all that and close the border. And what if people really need asylum? Well, shit, there was already a system in place for asylum from the get-go, and somehow that has been stepped aside, and it's just all open, all wide open. So to me, what's really going to happen is bad things are going to be happening. All right, because it's technically not being monitored on who's coming in. I think it's going to be bad within, not necessarily right now in a sense. I mean, it's already bad anyways, but in terms of, if you're looking at trying to not allow, let's just say, foreign enemies from coming in and infiltrating, the land that we live in. Well, they're not going to do a good job at it because now you just open it up for possible activities that can go bad, and it's going to be really bad. All right, and you think things are bad now, which it is, it's going to get worse in terms of just whether it's migration, attacks, everything, the progressive policies, because we're all under attack as, I guess you say Americans, right? We're all under attack because one, we're paying for everything. Two, things are happening in bad ways that it's almost like they're just saying, well, it's bad, but what are you going to do about it? All right, and no matter how you react to it, it's bad, right? Because if you're trying to react to it in terms of protecting yourself, it's bad because it goes against you. Stores get, robbed, it gets stolen, things get stolen, and nothing's happening about it. So what happens? Stores close down. I mean, it's just the reality of it. Just across the board, things bad just happens, and all you can do is just try to navigate through it, and hopefully good things come out of all it just through navigating through it, and not, I guess you could say, being a victim of things. So that's the whole bad thing about it. Just everything is just so bad right now, and it just sucks in general, right? Oh yeah, so when it comes to things in general, like it doesn't make sense what's going on in California, right? So Newsom's trying to, the governor, trying to do gun restrictions, but yet it doesn't do nothing for the regular people, because the gun restrictions is what's happening. You're trying to restrict regular people, but it won't stop the bad people. Two, you're encouraging more illegal immigration by giving illegal immigrants full insurance and benefits and all that to live in California. So what's the point of living in California and doing what we're doing, working, paying our taxes, and things like that, if it's not benefiting us? It's really just benefiting everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, what's to our benefit of doing what we're doing if it's not coming back to us? It's only really helping illegal people and just other things that is not helping us. So I don't know. It's just bad, and I think in a matter of time, if push comes to shove, eventually we'll just have to pack up and leave, right? And that's what's been happening. The trend is that people have been moving out because they're tired of seeing all this stuff. They're tired of seeing all this stuff. They're tired of being taxed on, because everything's about being taxed on in California too. Because we pay probably the most of everything in the United States in terms of just living, because everything is taxed so heavy, whether it's sales tax, taxing of our paychecks, just tax of everything there is, right? Plastic bags, you got to pay 10 cents for plastic bags because it's supposed to help blah 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 blah, and they're reusable, right? I look at it as, well, it's just another added tax, right? Because either you do 10-cent bags or none at all. It's become part of our lives now that you're used to just paying for the bags, right? And then it's just an added tax. And so things like that. My brother, half my family, I guess you could say, have moved out of state, and living in another state now, to where they're not paying all this stuff, and everything is like, yeah, I mean, their jobs are not what it is like compared to here in terms of pay, but at the same time, they're living a more relaxed life. Things don't cost as much in general, and living in a no tax state, usually they'll find ways to tax you, right? If you're not paying sales tax or income tax, whatever, well, they're always going to find a way, like property tax, for example, right? And that's the state I think he moved to, is there's no sales tax or personal income tax. So, every cent you get in your paycheck, you keep it, Here, we got like the highest tax in the state, and if you make a certain amount of income, you get taxed more, and if you're a millionaire, then you're taxed even more as a millionaire, and things like that. It's just stupid, Like, I used to believe in, oh yeah, you got to tax the rich, because they're the ones that blah blah blah, right? Because that's the whole liberal progressive way of thinking back then. And then as you grow up and you start making money and all that, and especially in crypto, and you're realizing, wow, you know what? People work hard for their damn money, and I can see why, the people they've worked so hard to get to the top, to make that money, only for the governments like California, Washington, Oregon, progressive sort of liberal states, right, come in and tax the shit out of you just because you make a lot of money. And I think that's wrong, and it's just stupid. And I can see why they move out of state to tax-friendly states, because of that very reasoning. Like, you work hard for your money, and they're going to come in and try to take, all that away from you. And it's almost like, well, why'd I work this hard to get here, only for other things to take it away from me, whether it's government or whatever, to take it away from me. So I don't know. It's just stupid. And that's what I wanted to just kind of voice my opinion on all that stuff. But yeah, this is just the start of everything. I just wanted just to kind of lay the groundwork on what I want to do for future podcasts slash live streams slash interviews and stuff like that that I want to do in the upcoming future. So that's where I'm at with all that. I just want to say thanks for tuning in, and let me know your thoughts and all that stuff. And other than that, yeah, just comment down below. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next one.